Shabbat Shalom. This is Rabbi Cat Zavis from Vaethchanan with my musings on this week's Parsha, Vaetchanan. This week's Parsha, I like to say, is God heavy. There are the Aseret Ha'Dibrot, the 10 speech acts or divine utterances, commonly referred to as the 10 Commandments, in which God gives us these 10 laws or rules that we're supposed to follow. I have written a modern day translation of them that you can read. The link will be in the comments below. We probably have a zillion images in our head of what this might look like, what a God might look like, what it might mean to receive divine utterances. And we tend to fight those images, or perhaps say that Judaism is irrelevant in this way. This parsha also contains the Shema and the V'ahavta. We are told to love God with all our heart, all our soul, and all our passions. Who or what is this entity that tells us how to live and that we are supposed to love? And what is the relevance of this to our lives and our world today? We are in a time of great transition and transformation, upheaval, and horror. We don't know and can't possibly see what is going to be birthed forth. And I am filled with a swell of emotions and thoughts, distress and despair, fear and angst, rage, outrage and disgust, sorrow and grief, concern and heartache. And at the same time, I also find hope and prayers, faith and fortitude, strength, endurance, and love and commitment, and care and compassion. Perhaps you feel some of these emotions as well. How can we hold faith and hope at this time when things appear so bleak? Might it be helpful to receive a download, a divine download of how to live an ethical life, individually and collectively? I can think of a few hundred people who I'd like to receive such a download. What might be the underlying principles of this divine source? Billions of years ago, this universe was birthed into being with a force so powerful that it continues to expand and unfold today. The Kabbalists tell us that the divine source was contained within a vessel, and it became so overwhelmingly powerful that it broke into billions of fragments. Scientists tell us that there was an explosion, and from that, the universe was birthed into being. I understand these to be the same concept through different lenses. I see the source of the unfolding of the cosmic consciousness as a force of unending love. From that one source of unending love, thousands of specks of love have spread throughout the universe in the forms of galaxies, stars, planets, and moons, in the form of animals, trees, plants, rocks, and sand, in the form of human life. All of these different forms are sparks of love in the universe, and what holds them together is love as well. For a moment, picture the images from the James Webb telescope of the birthing of the universe, and imagine each speck as a speck of love. The Kabbalists explain that these broken pieces of the whole are trying to find their way back to the source, the oneness of all. The way to return home is through tikkun, healing and repairing the breaks in the world. This loving energy lives within each of us. We have felt it in our hearts so deeply that we thought our hearts would break open from the intensity of our love of another. And this love lives within the Torah as well, in its teachings to love the stranger, care for the needy, and build a loving and just society. It envisions and advocates for a day when loving kindness and truth meet, and justice and peace kiss, when there is no needy and when justice wells up like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. This force of love is not some Hallmark card or wishy-washy love. It is a radical, powerful force for goodness and justice. This source of all life, the source that calls to us, that spoke to Moses from within his burning heart, known as Yud-He-Vav-He, is the transformative power of the universe that makes possible the transformation from that which is to that which can and ought to be. It is the force of unending possibilities. There are other names for the deity in the Torah as well, but the deity that is heard by Moses and the people on Mount Sinai is the deity that says, I am Yud-He-Vav-He, a radical force of change that can uproot historical oppression and free the enslaved. At the same time, there is another energy that lives within each of us and is reflected in the Torah as well. That energy is the energy of fear and domination. It manifests in the forms of patriarchy, capitalism, nationalism, hatred, othering, and demeaning. Many of us reject the teachings in our Torah that reflect this worldview, and even perhaps turn away from the Torah as a whole as a result. Yet we too get caught in fear. These two energy forces, love and domination, are in constant tension with one another. What makes our Torah holy is not that it reflects the limitations and constraints of its historical time, and even of our own historical time. All we have to do is read the paper, watch or listen to the media, and engage on social media, and we see these same reflections of domination and fear. They are the foundation on which our country was founded and the building blocks of capitalism. And they are the foundation on which the nation state of Israel was founded as well. What makes our Torah a holy text that has inspired revolutionary and liberation struggles ever since is that it has within it the voice that calls for liberation of all peoples, for a loving and just world. In every generation, in every historical moment across the planet, this loving force that strives for liberation awakens our consciousness and helps us see not only what is possible, but what should be. It reverberates and pulsates in the lives and voices of people across time and space. More often than not, that voice is squelched and silenced, not recorded in the history books written by those with power. Our Torah contains that voice loud and clear. It is a counter voice to the voice of domination, the voice of the ruling elite, and the voice of the powerful. And this is what makes the Torah a revolutionary document. One of the Torah's primary teachings is that the material, spiritual, and ethical reality of the world are one. They are inseparable and undergirded by love. The systems and structures in our society, as well as in most of us, if not all of the world, are not guided by love. They are shaped by economic, social, and political forces of power and domination. However, it is the loving force in the universe that sustains the world, not power, not money. The transformative energy that seeks goodness and justice lives within each one of us because it is what birthed the universe. We've all experienced that energy, not only in us as individuals, but in social movements as well. In the Torah, the midwives Puah and Shifra felt it strongly enough to refuse to carry out Pharaoh's orders to kill all male Hebrew babies. It burned in Moses so powerfully that he left his comfortable shepherd life to return to the belly of the beast, to challenge Pharaoh and struggle for the liberation of his people. and it has ignited courage within freedom fighters, justice seekers, union organizers, unsung heroes, and lovers of humanity and life throughout generations. From Jesus to Muhammad, from Harriet Tubman to all who joined the abolitionist struggle, from the Warsaw ghettos to the streets of South Africa, from Arab Spring to Tiananmen Square, and today we see it in the lives of all those insisting on their humanity and dignity, clinging to life in Gaza, and in the acts of Palestinians throughout Palestine and throughout the world. This force of loving justice preached through Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, prayed through the feet of Abraham Joshua Heschel, and through the bodies of those who sat at lunch counters. It is captured in the writings of poets, authors, and songwriters, and in the creations of artists throughout the world. It pulsates in activists throughout history and in the present. This energy strengthened those who blocked trains and buses transporting draftees during the Vietnam War, those who burned their draft cards, those who fight for environmental justice and sanity, the thousands who prayed with their bodies at Standing Rock and who stood in the streets to say Black Lives Matter. It bolsters feminists and LGBTQI activists and all those who gave up their freedom, and in some instances their lives for these struggles. And it has historically and is still alive today in Palestinian activists and their allies all around the world that demand an end to the genocide and starvation of Palestinians in Gaza, an end to the occupation. Our tradition teaches us that systems and structures of oppression and power are not fundamental to the universe and can and must be overturned by human beings. The message of the Exodus is not that there is some big man in heaven who's going to wave a magic wand and make things right. The force of liberation needed human action and engagement. It provided a foundation for courage and strength, but alone it was inadequate. The people had to be willing to take risks and demand their freedom. Whether the struggles for liberation become the prominent voice or prevail depends on which voice we feed. Right now, there is a lot of energy feeding the voice of hopelessness, fear, domination, war, and violence. It can wear us down and make us dreary. It can make us think we are alone, but we aren't. One of the beautiful things about Vaethchanan is that it is one of millions of communities around the world that is part of this movement for love and justice. Which voice prevails and what the outcome will be is not tied to the objective reality of who has more money, power, or weapons of mass destruction, but rather what people believe is possible. All the evil in the world requires human action. Weapons require human beings to propel them. And those human beings always have the possibility to turn to love. Our job as activists, as lovers of justice, as seekers of truth and goodness and liberation, is to uplift the possibility of possibilities. Because when people move toward love, the seemingly impossible becomes possible. No one thought people would bring down the Berlin Wall before they did. No one thought the Supreme Court would legalize same-sex marriage or that slaves could be free. Yet once these things happened, the media, political analysts, and others reflected that it was inevitable. You never know what is possible unless and until you struggle for what is desirable. And today we have a lot to struggle for because our world is deeply broken. So may you find that thread, that spark of love that pulsates in the universe within you, and may it uplift you and inspire you to join in movements for liberation, justice, love, and peace for all. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.